We are so excited to tell you about our Rise Up study. It's about a study of the book of Nehemiah. And I'm Jennifer Wake. I am the admin coordinator for Planning Rooms and a small part of this team, but I am the let's call her the glue that keeps things going as well as stops things that get out of control. So as the glue, I am going to be the moderator of this controlled situation. We're not very good at that. So we're going to try and keep it short, but we'll see how it goes. So the first person I want to talk to is Muriel. Muriel is a writer for the Planning Roots team as well as the Bible study coordinator. And she got lucky, blessed, excited, whatever she wants to call it, to write the majority of the Nehemiah Rise Up Bible study. So Muriel, can you tell us some fun things that happened while you were writing this study?
Yes, so Nehemiah was such a treasure. The more I studied it, the more I discovered had the depth of this very small, unknown book of the Old Testament. And as a testimony, as we were meeting week after week to discuss the chapters of Nehemiah, I think we came up with about a good other 15 different Bible studies, and so many rabbit trails that we could have gone down. So I will give that a testament to you, Jennifer, that you are definitely the glue and keep us on track and just say, no, focus, this is it. But the depth and the richness of Nehemiah was incredible, and it was such a blessing to study it, and definitely an honor to be able to write it, but I couldn't done it with any of you guys, and your insight and your editing and everything else. So yes, no, that was fun, but there's a lot in Nehemiah, so dig in.
That's right. We went from Nehemiah and we could have gone through the New Testament. We could have gone back to the Old Testament, but I kept them focused as much as I could. It was a little bit of a rough time there for a little bit. But then we also have Melissa, who is our Planting Roots author of the last two Bible studies. And she was on this team as well. And she gave the wonderful writing to Muriel, but she kept apart because she loves to do the H2O section, which is different spiritual disciplines. And her breadth of that knowledge was just impactful. And she coordinated, so it was like that everything was coming together lockstep. It was beautiful the way God orchestrated it. And Melissa, tell us what you learned through doing H2O.
Well, I learned a whole lot because H2O stands for habits to outcome. And so we're trying to help people to build in those daily or weekly habits into their lives. Like you said, spiritual disciplines that can just help them to grow more in their faith. And so when I was writing them, it occurred to me that I'm probably not doing as many of these as I should. And so I just wanted to, I don't know, it helped me to be more authentic, I think, in writing about it. Before I knew what the topic was ahead of time. And when I would actually sit down to write, I would have this time with the Lord of like, okay, evaluating where do I need to grow in this discipline? And then he would show me things, and maybe it was a discipline I'd done before, or maybe it was one I was currently doing, but then he would just open up a whole new avenue in that specific discipline. And so that was just amazing to see.
That's wonderful. When I read this study before it got published, I was like, wow. Well, there's a spiritual discipline I'm not doing well. There's another one. Oh, I didn't know that about Nehemiah. But then came the joint op intel, which is all these other characters in the Old Testament that interacted with Nehemiah at the time, as well as people who came alongside. I didn't realize that Esther was even part of Nehemiah, and that like blew my mind. And I sat there going, whoa. And so Kelli, one of our newest writers, got that option to write about all these different characters. So she got a baptism by fire because she joined Planning Roots recently, and we said, do you want to be on the Bible study team? And she said, and of course, I don't take no for an answer very well. So she joined us, and I'm so glad she did. So Kelli, what did you learn?
Well, I'm so thankful that I joined as well. As the Joint Op Intel, I studied the different characters and how they related to Nehemiah's story. And what that did for me was just showed me the importance of reading through the Old Testament. And it was really a pivotal moment in my own faith that led me from like an infant in my faith to a more mature Christian faith. And it has just been really cool to see how God has moved and worked through that just since working on the Bible study in Nehemiah.
Now, one thing that I just want to add, so we would meet once a week to discuss whatever week of the study we were going to write about, and we had our discussions and everything. But God works, in each of us separately. And I want to say one of the most beautiful things that I have seen throughout we have worked on is that I would do my writing and we had a certain discussion, but then God would take me on a certain path, and then we would come back together. And because this is how God is and this is how the Spirit works, Melissa's writing and Kelli's writing were just like always right on par, and we were just following that. And I think that's something absolutely unique. That was it gives me chills even today, just thinking about about that, how I would write something and then the H2O was right on par with one of the things that I had in the study, and the join up really highlighted another things. And God is good like that, and that was definitely something very particular about the study.
I enjoyed reading each week as we went through the joint ops. It was looking at the Old Testament in a totally different way of how these characters weren't just people, they were truly servants of God. So how they interacted, that we got to see Esther and how it was all at the same time, and how Ezra actually came in to Nehemiah. And I'm like, what? Back that bus up. Is that the same guy from the other book? And as Kelli said, she learned a lot about the Old Testament. And I was like, I need to study these prophets. I need to study these books, because God made it so that the Bible is one wonderful book. It's all about, from the beginning to the end, is about his salvation. And so many times the things that we were studying just went hand in hand, and it was so awesome.
And I think that's important because it just shows you how each character kind of weaves in with the next and with the next, and how ultimately it all leads to Jesus. He's the reason. But how did we get here? We have to know. We have to start at the beginning, and we have to read through all of the stories, and how God was faithful and how he loved his people. And we see that, and we learn that by reading the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm. And it's fun to see how God still uses people today in the same type of way. Because if you meet the four of us ever in person, we are so different, but we had so much fun together. We have a bunch of loud people on this team, and we have a very quiet person on this team who won't speak unless I call her out. Melissa.
I wonder who that is.
And so this is what we did every morning that we met and talked about this, is Melissa is sitting there very quiet, and the three of us are chatting. And then usually it was Muriel who would say, "And Melissa," and she would come out of her hole, and it was just the way God worked. But every part of it came together in unity. And as Planting Roots is looking at rising up, this Bible study team really rose up together to do this, because when we started this, it was, let's study Nehemiah. And that was it. And then we got together and we started talking, and we liked the way we had H2O in all the other Bible studies that we've done lately. And we found that we all agreed that was a key part. And then when we wanted characters that we did in the last Bible study, just different characters, different ideas that came up. And it was just wonderful the way this team like unified through everything. And it was, I really believe that this study is a life-changing study, because you look at Nehemiah with new eyes, and it really does draw you to God.
Yeah, that is my hope, that people will not just disregard it as this old book. Old Testament is not relevant to me because we are New Testament people, because it's a book about God's faithfulness and his provision. And Nehemiah is no different than who we are. He was just, a guy that was faced with a situation, and how he was faithful to God and kept God as his in the forefront of his mind, and we can draw so much hope and inspiration from Nehemiah. So my hope is that ladies will be encouraged and inspired.
Definitely. Well, ladies, thank you for joining us. For those of you watching this, I just hope that you have the ability the time, the desire to join us as we study Nehemiah in our Rise Up Bible study. And thank you, and I look forward to meeting you someday.